From Grief to Hope. Rethinking Thomas. We've been hard on Thomas. For 2,000 years, we've called him Doubting Thomas, as though his whole identity is summed up in one moment of hesitation. But if we slow down and look closer, we see a man whose story is not about cynical unbelief. It's about grief, love, and the God who meets us in both. When Jesus spoke of going back to Judea, where enemies lay in wait, it was Thomas who stood up and said, "Let us also go, that we may die with him." John 11, verse 16. That doesn't sound like a skeptic. That sounds like a man fully loyal, willing to lay his life down for his Lord. But when the cross came, when the nails tore through flesh and the body was laid in the tomb, Thomas's world collapsed. The one he was willing to die beside was gone. And when his friends came with news that Jesus was alive, his heart could not leap to belief. It was too broken. Unless I see in his hands the mark of the nails, and place my finger into the mark of the nails, and place my hand into his side, I will never believe. John 20, verse 25. That wasn't the voice of a cold skeptic. That was the cry of a grieving friend. Imagine a mother who has buried her child only to be told days later, "Your child is alive." Her first instinct would not be instant belief, but desperate resistance. Show me. Prove it. Don't give me false hope. And that's exactly where Jesus met Thomas. 8 days later, Jesus stood before him and said, "Put your finger here and see my hands, and put out your hand and place it in my side. Do not disbelieve but believe." John 20:27. No scolding, no dismissal, just compassion. The Savior gave Thomas the very evidence he longed for, not because Thomas was stubborn, but because Thomas was broken. And in that moment, the grief gave way to the greatest confession of all, "My Lord and my God." John 20:28. Like Thomas, we've all faced moments when grief makes belief feel impossible. We've stood at gravesides with hearts so heavy we thought they would never lift. And in that place, faith feels out of reach. That's why Paul tells us, "But we do not want you to be uninformed, brothers, about those who are asleep, that you may not grieve as others do who have no hope. For since we believe that Jesus died and rose again, even so, through Jesus, God will bring with him those who have fallen asleep." 1 Thessalonians 4:13-14. We need assurance when we're grieving. We need the reminder that death is not the end. And that's what Jesus gave Thomas. Thomas shows us that doubt in the middle of grief is not unbelief. It's the human cry for comfort. And Jesus answers that cry, not with shame, but with scars. With proof that the grave does not win. With hope that turns our mourning into joy. So maybe Thomas shouldn't be remembered as Doubting Thomas at all. Maybe we should remember him as Grieving Thomas and rejoice with him, because the wounds he touched are the same wounds that heal us. And that same Jesus still meets us in our grief today. And that's where our hope rests. How does Thomas's story encourage you when you walk through grief or loss? I'd love to hear your reflections below.